when you mention Hebrews 1:8, quite explicit, your throne, O God, is forever and ever, quoting from Psalm 45:7. And then you say there's another God on top of it. It sounds as if you're talking about two gods. I'm holding to one God. Let me go beyond that and say that as you continue reading, it says about the Son, he says, you, O Lord, in the beginning, just like John 1:1, created, made the universe. That will wear out. So there are many explicit verses.
Thank you. Response? 90 seconds.
Yes, there are lots of Yahweh texts in the Old Testament that apply to Jesus. He's his shaliach, his agent. Everything that Yahweh does in the Old, Jesus can do in the New. It doesn't make him Yahweh. There's only one Yahweh. We keep talking about two Yahwehs. Very difficult. Only one Yahweh. That's the Father. Jesus does all this Yahweh stuff, the God stuff in the New Testament, searches the hearts and the minds. Of course, as shaliach, he's empowered to do it. That's wonderful. So I don't accept any of these arguments that this makes him literally Yahweh. He's representing Yahweh. If Joe sends me out on a job, I am Joe in Hebrew thinking. Not Joe, but Joe.
Final rebuttal.
You know, if Joe sends you and you are Joe, I'm sure when you go home to snuggle with his wife in bed, she won't accept that. So let's recognize that the agent is not identical to the one sending. The agent can have the authority of the one sending, but they didn't see the alleged agent in the Old Testament. They saw God in the Old Testament who was identified as Jesus in the New.
It has to do with the concept of shaliach. He kept saying that Jesus could receive the worship that belongs only to God because he's God's agent. Well, my question is this. The apostles were also the agents of God and Christ, respectively. And in the book of Revelation, if you read chapter 22, verse 6 and 16, Revelation chapter 22, verse 6 and 16, it says that the angel who spoke to John was the agent of God and Christ, respectively. With that said, could the apostles go around saying, I am Jesus Christ, or God the Father, therefore worship me, because they were the agents of God and Christ? And if so, then why did the angel refuse to receive worship, seeing that he was the shaliach, the agent of God and Christ, respectively? So that's my question directed to the Unitarians.
Okay. I'd like to read two definitions of, according to Jewish law, what a shliach is, which is, the word means an agent, and it's called the law of agency. First is from the Jewish Encyclopedia. The law of agency deals with the status of a person known as the agent acting by direction of another, the principal, and thereby legally binding the principal in this connection with the third person. The person who binds a principal in this manner is his agent, known in Jewish law as a shiluach or shaliach, one that is sent. The relation of the former to the latter is known as agency. Now, the bottom line on this is from the Babylonian Talmud, Kedoshim 41b, but it's actually quoted in the Mishnah, which is much earlier, is a man's agent is like himself. Wait, got another paper. This is from the Encyclopedia of the Jewish Religion. The main point of the Jewish law of agency is expressed in the dictum, a person's agent is regarded as the person himself. Now, as you drop on down in this, you're told that the person sending the agent will specify what he's allowed to do, what his power is. In the case of Yeshua, all power was given to him from above. He was acting as God on earth, but I don't believe that he was God on earth. The agents, the apostles, when they were sent out, they were limited in what they could do, just like Moses in the first coming. He was a sent one. He was the shliach, but he was limited. He couldn't call down. He couldn't call down plagues at will. It came as it was directed by the Father. So that would be the difference between the two.
Thank you. And a rebuttal, 90 seconds.
Yeah, all of the issues that were raised haven't been addressed to this moment. For example, John 12 saying that the glorious Lord that Isaiah saw was Jesus in Isaiah, the 6th chapter. So all of these arguments about Shaliach and the sent one are completely irrelevant. The sent one was not from the beginning. If he was from the beginning, which is explicit in John 1 and explicit in Hebrews chapter 1 and explicit in 1 John 1:1 and other texts, the agent was not an uncreated eternal being and the one that created the whole universe. And when he came into the world, even the demons said, "You are the Holy One of God." They recognized who he was. They didn't just say, you know, "You've been sent by the big man, and we're scared of the big man." They said, "No, we know who you are, and we are in big trouble." So let's just go with the explicit texts that say who he is and not be dissuaded or pushed to the side. Also, it's very interesting that early rabbinic literature makes reference to the followers of Jesus worshiping two powers. Where did they get that idea from? It's because they understood the worship of him as divine, but they didn't understand God's triunity because they rejected the revelation of the Messiah.